You know, I used to think the worst thing someone could call me was selfish. That word used to cut right through me. If someone even hinted that I was being selfish, I would feel this wave of guilt, like I had done something wrong, like I had to drop everything and fix it. For years, my life revolved around keeping other people happy. I said yes even when I was exhausted. I agreed to things I didn't want to do. I gave time, energy, and even pieces of myself away because I thought that was what good people do. I thought that was love. I thought that was what made me valuable. But here's the truth I didn't want to admit. I was running on empty. I was smiling on the outside, but breaking on the inside. I was living a life where everyone else's needs came first, and mine were an afterthought, if I even thought about them at all. And then, one day, someone close to me looked me right in the eye and said, "You're being selfish." And I braced myself for the guilt, for the shame, for the usual spiral where I start apologizing and promising to do better. But this time, something shifted. Instead of feeling crushed, I felt this strange wave of relief. Because deep down, I knew they were right. I was being selfish. But for the first time in my life, I was doing it for the right reasons. I wasn't hurting anyone. I wasn't being cruel. I was simply choosing myself, protecting my peace, saying no to the things that were slowly destroying me. And my life began to change. My mental health got better. My relationships got clearer. I started to feel like myself again, maybe for the first time ever. So if you're watching this right now and you've been called selfish, maybe this is the message you need to hear. Maybe being selfish isn't wrong. Maybe it's the exact thing you need to do to finally take your life back. Today, I want to talk about why we fear being selfish, what healthy selfishness actually looks like, and how choosing yourself, unapologetically, can completely transform your happiness, your relationships, and your future. Chapter 1. Why we fear being selfish. From the very beginning, we are taught that selfishness is one of the worst things a person can be. Think about it. When we were kids, we'd grab a toy and someone would say, "Don't be selfish, share with your brother." If we didn't want to give up our seat, we'd get a lecture about being kind. And slowly, without even realizing it, we started connecting putting ourselves first with being bad. We grow up hearing things like, "A good person always thinks of others first," or "You should never put yourself before your family." And these ideas sound noble, they sound loving, but they quietly teach us that everyone else's needs come before our own, that our desires are negotiable, that what we feel doesn't matter as much as keeping everyone happy. This conditioning doesn't just happen at home. It happens at school, at church, in our culture. Everywhere you go, you hear stories praising people who give up everything for others. The selfless parent, the tireless worker, the friend who's always there no matter what. And yes, generosity is beautiful. But when you grow up believing that the only way to be good is to ignore yourself, it creates a silent prison. We become afraid of words like selfish. That one word has so much power over us. The thought of being called selfish makes people bend over backwards to please others. It makes them swallow their no and say yes to things that drain them. It makes them stay quiet when they want to speak up. And the more they do this, the more they lose themselves. And here's the painful part. We start wearing this as a badge of honor. We start believing that exhaustion is proof we're doing enough. That constantly being available means we are loved. That neglecting ourselves is somehow noble. We confuse self-betrayal with kindness. But deep down, resentment starts to build. Have you ever noticed how the nicest people, the ones who never say no, sometimes carry this quiet anger in their eyes? It's because they're giving from an empty place. They're tired of being last on their own list. The fear of being selfish keeps us small. It keeps us living lives that don't really feel like ours. And it's heartbreaking, because many of us won't realize this until we're burned out, until we have nothing left to give. Chapter 2. The truth about healthy selfishness. Here's the truth that completely flipped my world upside down. Not all selfishness is bad. I know that might sound strange at first. For so long, we've been told that selfishness is a character flaw, almost like a moral failure. But there's a huge difference between toxic selfishness and healthy selfishness. Toxic selfishness is the kind we all fear becoming. It's when someone only thinks about themselves and doesn't care who they hurt in the process. It's when a person uses others to get ahead, manipulates, takes advantage, and refuses to give anything back. We all know someone like this. The person who always expects you to show up for them but is never there when you need them. The person who drains you and doesn't even notice. That's the kind of selfishness that destroys trust and relationships. And yes, that's harmful. But healthy selfishness? That's completely different. Healthy selfishness is about taking responsibility for your own well-being. It's about saying, my needs matter too. It's about setting boundaries that protect your mental health and your energy so you can actually show up as the best version of yourself. Imagine this. Your phone is at 1% battery and someone asks you to make a call for them. What do? You plug it in first, because you know it can't run if it's empty. That's exactly how we work as human beings. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot keep giving if you never stop to refill yourself. And yet, so many of us are walking around completely depleted, wondering why we feel so resentful and disconnected. Healthy selfishness is you plugging yourself back in. It's saying no to things that drain you. It's taking time to rest, to breathe, to think about what you actually want out of life. It's not about ignoring everyone else. It's about no longer ignoring yourself. And here's the secret. When you practice healthy selfishness, everyone around you benefits too. Your relationships become healthier because they're no longer built on silent resentment. You have more energy to give the people you actually care about. You're not snapping at your loved ones because you're secretly running on fumes. Healthy selfishness is not about becoming cold or heartless. It's about becoming whole. It's about remembering that your life belongs to you first. And when you take care of you, everything else falls into place. Chapter 3. How putting yourself first changes everything. When I finally started putting myself first, it felt scary at first, almost like I was breaking some invisible rule. I remember the first time I said no to something I really didn't want to do. My heart was racing. I felt guilty for hours. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, wondering if I had disappointed someone, wondering if they were angry with me. But here's what I didn't expect. The world didn't end. Nobody's life fell apart because I said no. And the more I practiced it, the lighter I felt. I realized that most of the pressure I was carrying wasn't coming from other people. It was coming from me, from years of believing I had to be everything for everyone. And slowly, life started to change. My mental health improved in ways I didn't even realize I needed. I stopped waking up with that heavy feeling in my chest. I started feeling excited about my days again. I had more patience because I wasn't secretly running on empty. And for the first time in a long time, I could actually hear my own thoughts. Because I had finally given myself space to listen to them. My relationships shifted too. And yes, that was hard. Some people didn't like the new me at first. They were used to the version of me that never said no, that always bent over backward. And when that changed, some people walked away. At first, that hurt. But then I realized, those people weren't really there for me anyway. They were there for what I could do for them. But here's the beautiful part. The relationships that stayed got so much deeper. The people who truly cared about me respected my boundaries. They supported my growth. Some of them even told me that my courage inspired them to set boundaries of their own. And when I stopped giving all my time away, I suddenly had space to focus on the things I had been putting off for years. My goals, my dreams, the projects I kept saying I'd do someday. I wasn't as tired anymore, and I had more clarity. I realized how many of my yeses had been keeping me from saying yes to myself. Putting yourself first doesn't just change your schedule. It changes your whole spirit. It gives you back the energy you thought you lost forever. It gives you back your voice. And honestly, it makes you fall in love with your own life again. Chapter 4. How to start choosing yourself. So the question is, how do you actually start doing this? How do you start putting yourself first when you've spent your whole life putting yourself last? The first thing you need to know is that it will feel uncomfortable. You're going against everything you were taught. Your brain is going to tell you that you're being rude or mean. You might feel guilty at first. And that's okay. That guilt is not proof that you're doing something wrong. It's just proof that you're doing something different. Start small. You don't have to turn your whole life upside down overnight. Begin by noticing where your energy is going. Pay attention to the moments you say yes, but feel that little knot in your stomach. That's your body telling you the truth. That's where you need to start saying no. Practice saying no without over-explaining. You don't need to justify every choice you make. A simple, calm, "I can't do that right now," or "that doesn't work for me," is enough. At first, you might feel tempted to list 10 reasons to make the other person okay with your no. But here's the thing. People who respect you don't need a long explanation. And people who don't respect you won't be satisfied no matter what you say. The next step is to put your priorities on the calendar first. Block out time for your rest, your goals, your passions, before you say yes to everyone else. Treat your needs like they are just as important as any work meeting or appointment, because they are. Then start setting small boundaries. If someone constantly drains your energy with drama, you can decide when and how often you respond. If work keeps demanding more than is reasonable, start communicating your limits clearly. Boundaries are not walls, they're doors. They let the right things in and keep the wrong things out. And here's a big one. Stop apologizing for existing. Stop apologizing for resting, for eating when you're hungry, for needing time to yourself. You are not here to burn yourself out to make everyone else comfortable. At first, you might get pushback. People who were used to the old version of you might question your choices. They might accuse you of being distant or selfish. But stay grounded. Remind yourself why you're doing this, not to hurt anyone, but to heal yourself. Choosing yourself is like building a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger you get. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that saying no doesn't make you feel guilty anymore. It makes you feel free. Chapter 5. What to do when people don't like the new you. This is the part that no one really warns you about. When you start putting yourself first, not everyone is going to clap for you. In fact, some of the people closest to you might be the ones who push back the hardest. Here's why. People get used to the version of you they've always known. The version that said yes, that stayed quiet, that made sacrifices, that kept the peace. And when that version of you changes, it forces them to change too. And not everyone wants to. Some people will say, "You've changed." And they're right. You have. You're no longer betraying yourself to keep them comfortable. Some will say, "You're selfish now." And yes, you are. You're selfish enough to care about your health, your dreams, your peace. Some will even say, "You think you're better than us." But you're not trying to be better. You're just trying to be whole. And here's the thing. Their reaction is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of how your growth affects them. People who benefited from your overgiving will have the hardest time adjusting. They may guilt you. They may try to pull you back into the old patterns. They might even get angry. This is where you have to stay grounded. This is where you remind yourself why you started this journey in the first place. You're not doing this to punish anyone. You're doing it because you finally realized you cannot live a full, honest life while ignoring yourself. And yes, some relationships will fall away. That hurts. I won't lie to you. But the truth is, those relationships were built on you abandoning yourself. And that's not love. That's dependency. What you'll notice over time is that the people who truly love you will adjust. They might struggle at first, but they will learn to respect your boundaries. They will respect the new you, because deep down they want you to be happy. And the ones who don't? Their distance is actually a gift, because their absence will make space for people who value you for who you really are, not just what you can give. This is one of the most freeing parts of the journey. The moment you realize you don't have to keep everyone. You don't have to prove your worth by exhausting yourself. You get to decide who stays in your life, and that decision is based on mutual respect, not guilt. So when the criticism comes, take a deep breath, stand tall, and remind yourself, every time you choose yourself, you're teaching the world how to treat you. Chapter 6. The Transformation. Looking back now, I almost can't believe how much has changed. The person I used to be feels like a distant memory, like an old photograph of someone smiling on the outside but secretly exhausted on the inside. I remember what it felt like to wake up every morning already feeling behind, already feeling tired, already thinking about everyone else's needs before my feet even hit the floor. I was running on autopilot, saying yes to things I didn't want, smiling through situations that broke my heart. I was living a life that didn't feel like mine. And now? Now I wake up and breathe differently. My life feels lighter. My body feels lighter. My mind is clear. I no longer feel like I'm drowning in other people's expectations. I've built a life that feels peaceful. Not perfect, but peaceful. And that peace is priceless. I've learned to respect my own time, my own energy, my own limits. I've learned that I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to dream. I am allowed to say no, and I don't have to justify it to anyone. And the beautiful thing is, once I started living this way, everything else started aligning too. I became more confident. I started saying what I really thought instead of what I thought people wanted to hear. I became more patient with the people I love because I wasn't running on empty anymore. I attracted healthier friendships, people who celebrate my growth instead of resenting it. The biggest transformation, though, happened inside. I stopped betraying myself. I stopped ignoring the little voice inside me that was whispering, "This doesn't feel right," every time I said yes when I wanted to say no. I started trusting myself again, and that trust rebuilt my self-respect. If I could go back and tell my old self anything, I'd tell them this. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to put your happiness first. The people who love you will still be there, and the ones who aren't. You were never meant to shrink just to keep them comfortable. And maybe you need to hear this too. Maybe you need someone to tell you that it's okay to stop overgiving. It's okay to rest. It's okay to say no. It's okay to choose you. Because when you do, your whole life starts to shift, and you finally become the person you were always meant to be. Chapter 7. The Future You Deserve. Before we wrap this up, I want you to imagine something with me. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself 6 months from now, or a year from now, living as the version of you who finally chose yourself. You wake up feeling rested, not resentful. Your calendar actually has space for the things that matter to you. The friendships you keep are mutual, balanced, supportive. No more constant takers. You have energy again. You laugh more. You breathe deeper. You no longer flinch when you set a boundary. Saying no feels natural now. You don't over-explain or apologize. You just calmly state what works for you. And you know what's wild? The world didn't fall apart when you stopped being available for everything. In fact, the right people started respecting you more. This future version of you is stronger, calmer, braver, more grounded. They're no longer afraid of disappointing others because they know that betraying themselves would be worse. They've stopped abandoning their own needs, their own dreams, their own voice. And here's the beautiful part. This version of you is not far away. They're waiting for you. They're waiting on the other side of a few brave choices. One no at a time, one boundary at a time, one moment of courage at a time. You deserve that life. You deserve that peace. You deserve to feel free in your own skin, and you can have it, starting now. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this, it's this. Choosing yourself is not wrong. It's not selfish in the way the world tries to make it sound. It's not mean. It's not cruel. It's necessary. Because no one else is going to live your life for you. No one else is going to protect your peace for you. No one else is going to save you from burnout, exhaustion, and resentment. That's your job. You were not put on this earth just to please everyone else. You were not born to be a background character in your own story. Your life matters. Your dreams matter. Your happiness matters. And if that means some people call you selfish along the way, let them. Because the truth is, those words are just proof that you're no longer shrinking to fit into the boxes other people built for you. So I want you to do something after this video. I want you to pause and ask yourself one question. Where in my life am I saying yes when I really want to say no? And then give yourself permission to change that. Start with one small thing, one boundary. One moment where you put yourself first, even if it feels scary.